Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast here on the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gene Jackson. Join me and welcoming my co-host. We formed the modern-day Memphis Mafia. It's Big Josh Briley and Little Richard Mulligan of P3 Radio. Guys, how are you doing this morning?
Oh,
Dragon, man. Dragon.
I'm actually feeling great. I got that extra hour of sleep. I changed the clocks in my house. Some people made me feel like an asshole last night because I said, make sure you set your clocks back. And some people just was like, my phone has it on there.
That's the excuse I give you every
Dumbass
year,
Richard. I'm trying to be helpful.
That wasn't the intent behind my comment. My comment was the only reason that I'm ever anywhere on time when the time changes is because my phone does it, because I would never remember. Even after you a reminder, I'd be like, oh, he's right. When I get up in a minute, because I'm not going to get up, right this moment. But when I do get up, I'll change the clock. And then I wouldn't remember to change the clock. So if I hate on cell phones, they do that for us at least.
I was in Nashville last year with my buddy who's very antisocial. Like, he doesn't like when you talk to strangers or stuff. And I sometimes I just love to embarrass him. And we were in Nashville last year when the time was changing back, and I had to tell everybody, make sure you set your clocks back. I just work it into the conversation. Everybody's in a hotel. Nobody's setting the clock back.
Right.
Help those hotel staff out, set those clocks back. But yeah, feeling good, man. Feeling good.
That's good. We pretended like we had already done it last week, but this week we did actually. We have done the live stream. How was that, guys? That was fun, right?
Yeah, man. I like to, just to see how many people are actually latching on at one time. And communicating back and forth. That was really fun.
I just want to kindly ask everybody, if you don't mind, please take a moment to give us a rate and review. I've got a wife and 3 cats I'm trying to support. And Josh and Richard have wives. I think they actually have kids or something. I don't know. I've never really asked because I'm not a big fan of kids at all. So,
man, I got a house full of them.
You want to hear about their kids? You'll have to listen to P3 Radio for those types of answers, I suppose. But you'd really be helping us out if you would take a moment to rate and review the podcast and help us get those algorithms working in our favor. We need all the help we can get. So please just take a moment. Sure would help us out. And,
are we doing poorly?
No, not at all. We're just trying to keep things trending up and hopefully. Yeah. I say that because the live stream, all things told now, has been viewed like 1,200 times. So I'm like, we've 1,200 people watch our live stream. We've got 8,000 followers on our Facebook. We've got like 6 reviews. So the math doesn't add up there. Surely we can get a few more people to give us a review. That's all that is. But no, everything's looking good. Everything's trending in a good direction, and we certainly appreciate it. And at the end of today's show, we're going to have a new little fun segment specifically for the viewers of the videocast version of the show. So guys, remind me before we wrap up, so I don't forget, like I have the previous 2 weeks, and we'll actually work that in today. And
we're not measuring, are we? Because I didn't shave it yet.
No, that's the Christmas episode. But
gotcha. Okay.
Does this weird mole look cancerous? I ain't gonna tell you where the mole is.
Another round of cancer or no? Later on. So right now we're going to head back to
we'll like pull up a cancerous picture on one side, and we'll have Richard on the other side and split screen it
with a tear in my eye.
We'll show the comments like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely cancer."
Oh no.
Well, no, we're not going to do the measuring thing, or we might find out why they call you Big Josh and him Little Richard. That's allegedly.
When did that start?
Just at the beginning of today's show.
Oh, okay.
That is, I've been. I realized a few weeks ago that I suddenly had been giving you guys different monikers each week of some form, and for some reason today we landed on Big Josh and Little Richard. I think for iron, And then the joke I was going to make, but I got sidetracked, was like we had to start to call him Little Richard because he was mad everybody was calling him Tiny Dick. but I forgot that and I missed it, so now I just worked it in subtly here. So
Well, don't put it in the podcast notes, or we're gonna get a lot of pissed off people thinking they're gonna see a slightly lighter black man that plays piano really good back from the dead.
that's true.
And then another guy back from the dead,
Big
right?
Josh.
That ain't no Johnny B. Bad. And that ain't Big Josh. So May 29th, 1993. That's the episode we're watching this week of USWA television. And this one kicks off with Dave Brown telling us we're about to be hearing about a big tournament we've got coming up. Corey warns us that Principal C.W. Bergstrom and Mike Samples will be here. We'll see the TV debut of Mark Freer. And if you think Mark Freer is a lame name, give him a couple of weeks. We'll see how things go. Plus, Brian Christopher is going to be here. We'll see the tag team champions Simply Divine in action against PG-13 right here on TV. So that should be fun at least. So let's don't waste any time. Let's get right into it, guys. I'll let you know that we have a tournament coming up, so you know what that means here in the USWA whenever we have a tournament. Arts and crafts project time for the king.
Yeah.
Here we go. We made one of these famous tournament posters just like we did for the tag team tournament a while back, except this one, he's added a picture. This time we got a picture of Papa Shango right there on this bad boy. What do you guys think of this?
It took him probably at least 30 minutes to cut it out from the poster.
I think that's a WWE magazine.
Oh, well, even
without question.
10 minutes then.
Yeah. I feel like this whole show was just like how many times Lawler could get his artwork on TV.
It's like an art gallery.
Definitely owed to Jerry's artwork this week. My goodness. So this tournament, the winner of the tournament is going to get a shot at Papa Shango's unified world title. And the king is going to be included in this tournament because apparently Bert Prentice is just arbitrarily allowed to change the rules of pro wrestling that have been around since the dawn of time, where the former champion gets a rematch. Dave tells us that Bert was like, nope, fuck a bunch of that. Poor Jerry has to enter a tournament to get his rematch. So I sure hope he's able to win this thing, but we'll see how it goes.
Wouldn't it be some shit if you did all that artwork and you lose in the first round?
Well, what I'm thinking this whole time, and I don't want to like pop the wad on this thing because I truly can't remember. But we're having this tournament, and this is 2 weeks in a row. Bert showed up with just the belt, no Papa Shango, like no mail-in interviews or no kind of shit like that. Do we really still have Papa Shango? And they're going to do all this shit. And then it's like, well, the last two, I truly don't remember. But am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I mean, that's the logical place your mind should go. Now, I can assure you, we still have access to Papa Shango because in 93, he certainly wasn't tied up in any major angles on WWF TV. I mean, like the height of Papa Shango mania, if we want to call it that, was 92 with the, making the Warrior sweat oil and puking on TV and all that good stuff. By 93, he's doing the B show, house show loop and,
roughing up Mario Mancini and shit.
Exactly. He's an afterthought at this point. So I don't understand why he's not just living down here like Johnny Polo has been. But no, I would, in the moment at the time, I would have been thinking the same thing you are. Like, so he won the belt. He come out the following week, jobbed out poor Jerry Lynn, and we haven't seen him since. And Bert's walking around with the belt.
I did see his interview with Chris Van Vliet recently, where he was talking about how he owned a strip club back home. And I don't know if it was somewhere out west. It's like Nevada, Arizona, somewhere out there. And he was like, it was paying the bills. Wrestling was just a thing I did for fun. He goes, when I'd stop having fun, I just go home. It's like, he's like, basically that's what like hit when he knew his career was over is when they put him in that Good Father thing. And he's just like, yep, I'm done. I'm going to go back home and make money off my club. So, I mean, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility here that he was just like, you know what? I ain't going to Memphis for those 500 people and the $25. I'm going back home.
You guys, good him.
Yep, I'm gonna go look at titties at my club.
It's fun to me that like Charles Wright was able to treat the WWF like guys treated indie wrestling. There's plenty of guys who had a real job that paid the bills and they would just drop in and do indie stuff when they felt like it or when it was, beneficial. But, he treated the WWF like that for, 15 years, which is pretty cool. It's pretty rare. So
it's
I like
power
it.
of titties. And you can turn yourself around. Unless you're a guy
Absolutely.
with them, then we seem to not be able to do so much.
No, they've
from
never
my
done
point
me
of
any
view.
good.
Cross my arms now.
Nothing good anyway for me. But the first segment after our break brings Bert Prentice and Simply Divine out for a promo. Prentice doubles down on Lawler, not a rematch. And
that is the definition of hog heaven. That Bert is just like he could die in this moment, I think he'd be all right.
Why does that look like an ad from a Sears catalog?
You better buy these penny loafers, pal. They're the best.
Steve Dahl's face in this is the most disturbing thing to me. He just finished something, but anyway. So Prentice doubles down on Lawler not getting a rematch, and Bert even goes as far as calling him Jerry the Queen Lawler multiple times, which is ironic. We'll let you figure that out. And then we go to the ring for our first match. So we're gonna start this show out hot, guys. We're gonna have Simply Divine, the tag team champions, taking on PG-13. Now this is a non-title match, but let's take a look at a little bit of the action here of this opening match on the show.
Bert Prentice, hot talent in there, jumping on PG-13. And look at JC and Whoopi. They both got Simply Divine and flips them both over. Stalls out of the ring, and there goes Rex King. Steve Dahl and Whoopi D in the ring. And, Dahl nailing away on Whoopi. Whoops D into the ropes. Whoopi D goes under. Nice, takes Rex King down. And King whips him in. JC comes off. Boy, look at that. JC kind of held on in there. JC ice. JC comes off the middle ropes. And he misses that time.
Yeah, that was a great idea, but Steve Dahl just ducked.
King and Dahl whips ice in. Comes off the ropes. And slams him face first into the mat. The ropes now. JC in the ring. Oh! JC Ice
trying to get the tag. He now makes it over to the corner, and here comes Wolfie D.
Yeah, here comes Sir Wolfie D. And Wolfie D slamming away. Ring now. That's Wolfie D on Steve Dahl. Bert Prentice climbs on the apron. Dahl rolls up Wolfie 1, 2, 3, and they get him. With Bert Prentice interfering in the bout.
No doubt about it, interference by Bert Prentice is what wrapped that.
So my first comment here is Wolfie D's mullet's out of control. I mean, he's doing a hip-hop gimmick, and he's got a mullet that'd make Kenny Powers blush. Really stands out to me at this time. So Simply Divine, they retain the titles with help from Prentice. But to me, in this instance, it's perfectly acceptable. I'm not even mad about it. What do you guys think about this match?
I didn't mind it. At least there wasn't a run-in. It was interference. Wolfie beat the shit out of Bert there for a second, didn't he? He's just like, get off the apron. I don't know if that was a mistimed thing because Bert didn't really sell it. He just kind of, sold a few shots, then got down and got the belts like nothing had happened. But I didn't mind it. I like the interference that leads to the dirty heels winning the match, So I was cool with it.
And I enjoyed it as well. And it did really seem like, our main complaint from the last, 2-3 weeks was it doesn't seem like a lot of thoughts going into this shit. It's really pissing me off that these, they've got all this talent. It's Memphis, they can do so much. They got so big of a reach, and they're pissing it away. And this could have been the main event. I mean, spruce up the finish just a tad. But, yeah, I liked it, man. It was a quick, it didn't necessarily make PG-13 look bad because, that piece of shit Bert. But yeah, it was really refreshing, comparable to, like Richard said, no run in, no just bullshit.
Disqualification.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was an interference finish that put heat on the team and the manager. It wasn't just oh, let's get out of this ending here. Let's do something that's not going to hurt the other guys. It served a purpose, and like you say, it wasn't a DQ or a run in. So I enjoyed it. So next up after the break, Jerry the King Lawler is out for his usual recap of where the USWA is headed around the area. Most interesting to me was Lawler announcing that they're getting ready to do a contest where the winner and 10 of their friends would be getting to go out to dinner with Lawler and Jeff Jarrett and then go screen their new movie with Michael J. Fox, Life with Mikey. Now, I'm sure you guys probably have a whole slew of jokes brewing over there, but I'll give you a chance maybe to fire off your best ones. But what do you think about this opportunity back in 93 to bring along 10 of your friends to go hang out at a movie theater with Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett?
Well, dude, I was immediately like, I want to do this. And then I was like, I don't have 10 friends. So I was immediately fucked. And I didn't even try.
It's just like, there's going to be some relatives in here, Jerry.
No, King said friends.
So there's Lawler. He's in his baseball jersey there. I guess in his case, that would be a softball jersey, right? I mean, that's,
yeah. I mean, I guess that would be kind of cool to go with Lawler to a movie. There'd be some wrestlers on there that I definitely, at my age time, would not have wanted to go to a movie with.
Definitely wouldn't bring my little sister.
He don't even have a little sister. That's how serious he is.
So, as Josh implies, he wouldn't want his little sister to go to the movie with some of these people. Jeff Jarrett sends his little sister to Jerry Lawler's house in this next segment when we return from a commercial break. We talked about this on the live stream, but for those of you watching or listening to this that wasn't part of the 1,000 people that's viewed it, we did confirm, our friend BT reached out to Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett did confirm that Jennifer of Jennifer on the Road and Jennifer of the 900 Hotline Gossip Girl role is actually his little sister, Jennifer Jarrett, Jerry's daughter. And Jerry Jarrett's been around the business a long, long time. I don't know how he thinks having his little blonde daughter hanging out on the road and going to the King's house is a good idea, but here we are.
Sacrifice, Gene. Got to make sacrifice. Get the good stuff sometimes, right?
I'll take one for the team, honey.
Maybe he was like bait carding this shit. You know what I mean? Like, if Jerry fucks up again, he's out.
He's the trailer, trailer full of Jordans in the hood.
Yeah. How can we get him to mess up? I know. We'll send Jennifer over there.
So I had seen this. Segment a few months ago. But watching it again this week with this newfound information that this is actually Jerry Jarrett's daughter kind of put a little different spin on this. So let's take a look at some clips of Jennifer on the road at Jerry Lawler's home, checking out some artwork.
Hi, this is Jennifer. I am at the palatial home of the king himself, Jerry Lawler. Now, I got here a little bit early, so Jerry just told me to make myself at home. And I found out that he not only does art, but he also collects Coca-Cola memorabilia. So I just wanted to show you some of this. It is so neat. And one thing that I really like is this old-timey Coke machine. I thought this was so interesting.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi. Welcome. You like my Coke memorabilia?
Yes, I do. It is so neat. I love this Coke machine.
Hang on a second, wait a minute. Why don't you take one home with you?
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to keep this. Well, did you bring your stuff?
Yes, I did. And I'm ready to do art.
What, you brought a palette and brushes. No, that's okay. I'll tell you what. I've got some material over here that we'll do. And you want to look at some art too?
Yes, and I also thought we could do a little art,
we'll
maybe.
Do some. While we're here, let me start with All right. Before we get started doing any drawing, can I show some of my art that I've already done?
Yeah, sure. Go
This is some of my favorite subjects, of course.
Oh, okay.
I draw pictures of myself. You've heard of self-portraits and things like that.
Oh, yeah, I think it's great.
This was, you know who that is?
Yes, I do.
Who?
Curly.
Yeah, you're not as young as you look, I think. That's right, Curly. Circus program. Is that great?
Great, yeah.
Come on, you're not really impressed with
No,
this.
I am. I'm very impressed.
Okay.
I am.
Hey, what about this? You know this guy?
Handsome Jimmy.
Yeah, drew that. Almost
That
looks
is
like a
good.
photograph, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, I drew it.
Well, I'm so impressed.
I don't think you really are.
I am, Jerry. That is great.
Also, look, this is a shot here that I just finished drawing this to advertise my big softball tournament that's going to be coming up. I want to tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later on, too, okay?
Well, that is great. So, are we going to do art now?
Oh, man, that's all you want to do is do art.
I
Can
know.
you do
I
art?
thought we could just do a picture together, maybe.
Collaborate.
Yes.
Okay. I'll tell you what we'll do here. I'm going to give you this pen.
Okay.
What I want you to do is you start the picture. We'll do a little abstract art.
Okay, that sounds good.
It does. You start the picture and I'll finish it. Just make
anything?
Just make any kind of line on there. What? Just anything.
Well, I don't know what to do. Just draw anything.
It doesn't matter. Just a line.
Okay. How's that?
Wow.
More?
That's enough, I guess. Look, making it tough on me here.
It's a cat.
It's who?
Sylvester the cat.
Hey, Sylvester. Wait a minute. Let me see. Where's he at? Look. Hey, it's Sylvester the cat.
cute.
Where is he at? Give me some whiskers there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Look, we collaborated.
Jerry, that is so good.
Now we got to sign this. You got to sign
okay.
it. Sign it right there at the bottom. A lot of money.
Okay, we could. Well, Jerry, do you sell? I mean, I bet you have money to burn.
You know what? It's so funny that you mentioned everybody thinks I got money to burn. Whoa! Wait a minute. What?
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
Wow.
He threw out a cast net on that one.
Yeah.
Did she say fallacious home of Jerry Lawler at the beginning, or did I misunderstand that? But,
there were so many, Gene, so many moments in that. Yeah.
That was the
that
last
certainly
big
wasn't a
joke.
prepared bit.
Yeah. If not, Lawler's got some enemies. The mafia's rigging his wallet. So when he opens it, it explodes.
I kind of felt like at the point when she knew who Curly was and he said, "You're not as young as you look," he was ready for her to go, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think that was one of the texts I sent. It's like, did y'all see how disappointed he sounded when he was like, "Maybe you're not as young as you look."
like, that was a test and you failed, honey.
Yeah.
Let's do some art, you know?
Yeah. Why was Lawler in like Zubaz and OR scrubs, by the way?
Dude, I was just about to say that apparently he suddenly was sponsored by Zubaz because last week after the Tidy Whitey incident, he comes back out with Coco for the promo and he's wearing Zubaz, and then here he's wearing Zubaz and a scrub top, like I guess he was getting ready to do an intern gimmick or something. But
I like to imagine that Lawler had this girl coming over and he was going to do what the single people would refer to as the naked man. You know, when she walked in. And then he saw the camera crew come out with her, and he's like, "Oh shit!" He grabbed like a shirt and pants and threw it on real quick.
He put his hand in his drawer, and just wherever he pulled out, he put on.
Oh, so what'd you think of that artwork they did together?
I think that, whenever he broke out the pad, I thought, and he said, "Let's do some art," he was going to go, "All right, well, it's some tracing, and he's going to put something on there for her to trace." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I swear to God that I really thought, like, this is Lawler shooting his shot. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems that way because he comes over, shows him all the cool crap he has in his house. Then he's like, "Well, I'm a good artist, right?" And when that doesn't impress her, he pulls out his wallet. So it's
exactly. I think that scenario has probably played out in that house more than once. I liked how his ego kind of took you, like he was like, "I don't think you're really impressed." That felt like 100% real right there. Like,
do you know who this is? Handsome Jimmy. Yeah.
I wish I was at his house right now. All right, bitch. Let me show you let me pull out the big guns. Look at this wallet right here.
And then she had all the enthusiasm as if he was showing her like vacation trip to Barbados in 1992.
Here's
Like,
me, Brian, Kevin.
And we're playing with the dolphins. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Wow.
I could relate to her. At one time, I used to work in a 1 hour photo lab at a Walgreens, and people would come pick their pictures up, and they'd want to show them to you and tell you all about them. And that's happened like 10 times a day, and I'm just like, yeah, cool. I'm like, she's showing more enthusiasm than I would. Give her a little credit. He's just like, I don't feel like you're really impressed.
What's funny is, you always have those freak people that, like, because I used to work at a photo place too. They're showing you your photos at Walmart's counter, and all of a sudden it's like some kind of risque photo, and they're like, oops.
How'd that get in there?
I guarantee you there was one of him naked eating a bowl of grapes or something, and he's like, oh, look, I'm so embarrassed about that one. You see that one? Oh, man, this is embarrassing. Let's draw something.
Guess you thought Coco was the only USWA wrestler that was hung recently, huh? He pulls out that wallet once the fire goes out. She's like, I know you shouldn't have a condom in there. And he's like, that's right. I don't.
Had a vasectomy. Tell me about it in my book that I'm writing. Be out in about 10 years.
That's why Austin Idol and Tommy Rich ran me in the ring post that time, so I can get the old vasectomy. We can fire this off anywhere. But anyway, forgot we're not on Patreon anymore. This is a real show, for fuck's sakes. What are we doing?
Sorry.
Up next, Principal C.W. Bergstrom and Mike Samples are out. Clearly somebody gave the principal some of your feedback from last week, Richard, because he's dressed a little more like a principal this week. He's wearing a sweater, so he looks more like a principal than he does a Southern attorney like he did last week. But holy, this freaking promo. He promotes the $1 tickets for kids this week by saying they are being prepared to be welfare recipients. Samples tries to tie in Lawler's mention of graduating from Treadwell High School into the wrestling promo, where Bergstrom's going to be Lawler's opponent in the first round of this tournament, which is the only way they could have justified having C.W. Bergstrom wrestle Jerry Lawler in his second week in the territory here. Now you want a lesson on how you get heat, guys. Bergstrom says Lawler failed art class and physical education, and Sample says Lawler was a cheater then and he's a cheater now. So we're going for the real solid cheap heat here, folks.
Yeah, and this is the second time, because we got a little indication that Lawler was from Treadwell when he showed his art earlier, and he had the class of 67 there, which is always impressive.
I couldn't believe he showed this young chick that he graduated in 67. I was like, whoa, that's a bad move there, King.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, her daddy was a wrestler, always on the road. She may have had a dysfunction.
But yeah, Treadwell was getting some airtime on this one, wasn't it?
yeah, Treadwell was a sponsor of this episode, apparently. I just find it funny that, like, it was top secret. Like, nobody in the world could know that Brian and Kevin were his sons because he didn't want anybody to try to figure his age out by the age of his sons. But then we're out here just telling everybody he graduated in 67. It just felt kind of odd. But again, here's that sweater we were talking about. Check him out there. And if you guys are watching this, anybody was watching this episode and you're like, man, C.W. Bergstrom looks familiar. I know I've seen him somewhere. Well, that's because you recognize him from his other job as the leader of the band on Saturday Night Live. That's right, folks. C.W. is actually G.E. Smith from the Saturday Night Live band. So, again, that's the kind of insight you only get here on the Retro Wrestling Review.
So that would mean Lawler's close to 40 here in this era.
Well,
wow.
He is 40. He was born in 49.
Oh, wow. So, yeah.
Yep. So, I thought he, kind of put all his cards out there for once, and I don't know if it was a good move, but probably best for him.
Price you pay when you're trying to nail the boss's daughter, am I right?
I was going to say, you don't need to close that deal on camera, Lawler. Good grief. Take it easy.
He's so brazen, he will close it on camera.
Keep filming, guys. Keep filming.
I ain't scared of that son
I bet
of a
I throw
bitch.
that fire on you, and by fire I mean biblical fire. You know what I mean, baby?
Well, I was hoping it wasn't herpes.
Jarrett tries to pull in that Nick Goulas shit. I'll threaten to put this tape out into the world.
What do you think about this, honey? Does this look impressive? Oh yeah, Jerry, that's great.
We're gonna call this one Jerry Lawler versus Sylvester because
Yeah. I don't think I should.
That pussy's doing the job, brother.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The comment that I made is that wasn't he drew Sylvester, but that wasn't the pussy he was thinking he was gonna be drawing that
There
weekend.
you go. There you go. Now we're you and I, we're completely off the rails in this, and we apologize.
Sorry. Well, this show was off the rails.
Maybe wait and give you a review next week. Don't review this episode, please.
We had a 5-minute interlude that was just like, let's go see Jerry Lawler's house and all his artwork. It's like this show is off the rails. We had longer interview with Jerry than I think any of the matches went. So it's like,
well, if you want a little insight into why that is, let's go to match number 2. Principal C. Bergstrom with Mike Samples taking on Billy Hickerson, no relation. And much like Uncle Ruckus on the Boondocks, whenever I say Billy Ray Hickerson, I always say no relation, just so you don't think he's in the bloodline of good old Phil Hickerson, although I'm sure that's what the implication's supposed to be. But there you see him. They've corrected the spelling. Last week they spelled Bergstrom Trum. I had always seen it in magazines from Portland over the years as OM. We've corrected that this week. So that's good, I guess, as if it mattered. But
well, I mean, he's a principal. He had to be a stickler on spelling, right?
That's true. Bergstrom wins the match with a power slam this week rather than a backdrop, which to me lends credence to, I think it was Josh's theory that the backdrop finish was improvised, that big old Freezer Thompson took a backdrop, couldn't get up, and Bergstrom just had to go ahead and pin him. I think that was probably a pretty solid theory there, Josh. Of course, again, we get the post-match butt whipping with a belt. But all of a sudden, as he's giving the whipping with the belt, Samples shows up with a paddle. And so we're about to switch over from the belt to the paddle, and this
Beat him in the match.
Bergstrom grab the paddle now. Oh, come on, Mike. Get him out of there with that jump. Oh, here comes Jeff Gaylord, the Missouri Tiger. Yeah, he nails Bergstrom, and Bergstrom gets out of there. Onto the floor goes C.W. Bergstrom. Mike Samples jumps in the ring. Oh, look at Gaylord. He's got that paddle battling Mike Samples.
Bergstrom sent Samples in there to collect the lumber, but he didn't intend on him collecting it like this. From behind, Bergstrom nails Jeff Gaylord. Oh, look out. Now that's 2 against 1. Boy, I tell you, look out.
Oh, come on, man. Samples holding Gaylord while C.W. Bergstrom unloads with him on that paddle, boy. Here comes the king, Jerry Lawler, and there goes Bergstrom and Samples.
Got a fucking cricket bat in there.
Dude, that was the loudest paddle shot I've ever heard. And the second shot got him in the kidneys. He couldn't even take another one. He buckled.
Yeah. So I guess the paddle will make for a better gimmick for Bergstrom as far as like using it in finishes of matches and things like that. And here in a little while, we may see why he changed. He may have changed just because somebody else is fixing to take over the strap. We made a whole show last week out of C.W. Bergstrom strapping people, and now we pass it on to somebody else later in this show. But we'll get there.
Are we slowly passing the strap off? Because it started with the yeast infection connection, and then it went to him, and then it's going to somebody else. It's crazy.
Somebody getting their ass strapped every show.
Every week.
Playing past the strap here in the USWA. So on that note, let's take our first quick podcast commercial break. And then when we come back, we're going to hear from the King again because we hadn't heard from him enough in this episode, right? Can't get enough of Jerry Lawler, apparently.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen if you know what's good for you.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85. 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. So if you're looking to support that next up and coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
All right, so Lawler's out next to talk about his issues with Bert Prentice and Papa Shango. Then he turns his attention to C.W. Bergstrom and questions the legitimacy of Bergstrom's claim of being a principal based simply on the fact that he was chewing gum, and we all know that principals are against people chewing gum. And then proceeds to recite his high school transcripts for the most part. What did you guys think of this moment?
Y'all don't look very impressed, Dave. Oh, we are, Jerry. We're very impressed.
Maybe that's why they focused on Lawler's high school record, because they knew it would get under his skin enough where he'd have to go and do a 3-minute promo to retort it.
It could be. I don't know. I just feel like probably after the segment, Corey's like, I thought Gaylord did a better promo about his school days. Jeez. Not Lawler's best work, but then again, neither is C.W. Bergstrom. So we're working with what we got here, folks. And like you said last week, when Bergstrom first showed up and he said, I feel like this is going to be one of those short gimmicks. I am absolutely amazed at how long the principal sticks around here. Which hopefully I'm not running anybody off and they're like, what, this guy's sticking around? I'm out. But there's a lot of twists and turns to the principal story is all I'm going to say. And he'll have a student show up eventually, so stick around for that. From there, we see highlights from last week when Johnny Polo gifted Brian Christopher his nanny, Miss Simpson, or Jennifer Simpson, if you listen to Corey Macklin. And then we see all the shenanigans from the Jarrett and Tony Falk match and how things just went completely off the rails during that. And then that brings out Jeff Jarrett and Miss Texas, and Dave talks to Jeff about the automobile accident that we referenced last week when we went over the Monday night card. Let's hear Jeff's account of what happened and a stern PSA warning that he has for us all.
I am happy to shake your hand here today. I want to talk about that before we talk about the action coming up. Some of the fans may have heard, some may have not. I want to get an update. You and Eddie Marlin were involved in a very serious traffic accident about a week ago, very early last Sunday morning. The vehicle overturned several times, and thank goodness you had on a seatbelt and you're able to stand here with us today. How are you feeling, and how's Eddie?
Well, Dave, I appreciate your concern, and some of the fans know, and some of the fans don't know. I made an announcement Monday night, and I'm going to be repeating myself, but I'm very happy to be here because, like you said, Dave, Saturday night on the way home, Eddie lost control of the truck, and we swerved across the road, and then we went back across the interstate and hit the guardrail. And the truck flipped, I think, 3 times, and we landed upside down, luckily. And I want, especially the kids out there, 16, 17 years old, I want them to listen real good, because I know, I can remember when I was 16 or 17, I didn't listen to much. But the commercials you see about buckle up, seatbelt, save your lives, it's not just an advertisement. Most of the time it goes in one ear and right out the other, but it's the truth. And I want not only the kids, but everybody to listen. Because seatbelts do save lives, and if I wouldn't have had mine on, I don't think I'd be here standing this morning. I'm very happy to be here, very happy to be alive. And as far as Eddie's condition, he's real sore, but he's not in the hospital. A lot of people have asked me this morning if he's still in the hospital. He's not in the hospital. He's real sore. He doesn't get around too good, but time will heal everything. And as far as myself, Dave, my knee's still real sore and my elbow, and I'm still sore all over. But other than that, I'm just happy to be here.
Today, on a very special USWA Championship Wrestling, Jeff Jarrett has a message for the kiddies.
Right.
Are we sure?
Piano music behind that.
Are we sure that he didn't get arrested for like DUI or something? Because this feels like a court-ordered thing. You know, like you're gonna go out there and tell them kids, people like you and all that. You know what I mean?
Now,
like,
Jeff, we won't tell them about all the things we found in the truck if you go out there and tell them to buckle up.
we won't tell them about the compromising position that we found you in with, well, never mind. We'll just say Eddie Marlin was driving the truck. We won't try to figure out why you and Bert Prentice were traveling together.
He was in the camper in the back.
Well done. Got nearly killed in that thing back there. Said they was practicing the abdominal stretch. I don't know what that means. So after that portion of the promo, Jeff Jarrett breaks into wrestling promo mode and talks about how he can't compete in the tournament. He'll be back and all that good stuff. We talked about on the live stream the other night during a match featuring Miss Texas and Luna Vachon. So there's a teaser. If you hadn't watched that yet, go back and watch our watch along video. It's here on the YouTube channel, or not here on this channel. This is Ray's WrestleCopia channel. It's on the Retro Wrestling Archive channel, as well as the Facebook page, Retro Wrestling Review Facebook page. We talked about the fact that Miss Texas has started to feel like one of those dolls with the string in the back, and you just pull the string and she's got about 6 different phrases that she fires off. Well, after Jeff Jarrett got through talking about his car wreck, giving his PSAs for wearing your seatbelt, he pulled the string in Miss Texas's back, and well, let's see what came out this time.
Miss Simpson, you think you're so cute walking around with that little maid uniform on? Now you call yourself an English nanny. But down here, I'm calling you a bare leg, big mouth, nothing happening tramp. Now, see, you come out here, you hit Jeff over the head with the broom and the mop. But I tell you what, soon as you step in the ring, honey, I'm going to beat you like I own you.
Wow, them damn days are over.
That's what Coco said.
Oh, Lord.
Second week in a row, Miss Texas is gonna beat you like I own you. And Jarrett responds almost the exact same way. Like I almost had to make sure I wasn't watching the same clip again. I have to say she may regret using that line this week, because oh boy, does Brian Christopher
makes me wonder what condition all the shit she has in her house is in. She just beats the shit out of everything. Drives up in a like old 1987 car that has dents all in it. That's how you know she owns it. She beats the
know
shit.
what she owns because she's gonna beat it. So you know she owns it.
What about Miss Simpson having a perfect attendance, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get there in a few minutes. We'll address that with Brian Christopher here in a moment. Because before that, guys, it's very exciting. We have a new superstar in our midst. We're going to meet USWA newcomer Mark Freer, who quickly gets propositioned, I guess you could say, by Bert Prentice. Let's hear from Mr. Freer and see if we're going to have a better promo than we get out of guys like Jeff Gaylord and. Well, let's just hear this.
Mark Freer. Mark, good to have you here. You're new to the USWA, and you have really picked an interesting week to come in. We hear some good things about you.
Thank you. I've heard a lot of good things about the USWA, and I'd just like to say I'm real happy to be here. And when I heard about this tournament, I thought it was an excellent opportunity. I'm glad that I can participate in it.
Well, we're glad to have you participating, and we've got you booked in a match here today. So watch this guy here, Bert Prentice. Prentice, why are you here? I'm trying to talk to Mark. It's our first look at him. We'd like to get some info.
I'm going to come out and compliment, finally, a fine-looking athlete. Mark Freer, it's so great to finally meet you. I've heard a lot of great things. My name is Bert Prentice, Premier Manager. I represent the unified world title belt, so-called Queen's belt. It's my belt now. I would love nothing more in the world than to manage you. I'm going to tell you straight here in front of everybody. Before your mind, look at me. Shut up. Before your mind gets poisoned by the likes of Jerry Lawler and Jarrett and all them idiots, you can trust me. I'm the one man you can trust in the whole world of wrestling. I just wanted to come out, say hello. I know you didn't know who I was. Wanted to introduce myself, give me my card. Call me tonight as soon as the show's over. I got time for you. I can do some great things for you.
Well, listen, you obviously don't know the wrestling business as well as you think you do.
Excuse me?
Because I know Jerry Lawler, and I know Jeff Jarrett, and they're good people. As far as I'm concerned, I also know you.
Oh, you do? Good.
And I also know that I want nothing to do with you or anybody you associate with. As far as I'm concerned, you are nothing but a big, fat jerk.
Well, looks like he does know you, Bert Prentice.
Okay, couple things. Number one, I would pay money to know what's on that business card that Bert handed him, what it actually says on it. Number two, I want to know how comedian Nick Swardson managed to go back in time to play a wrestler on USWA. Like, because that's all I could think listening to this guy the first time I watched is like, this sounds like a Nick Swardson character. Like, he kind of looks like him in the face. His voice definitely sounds like him. Perhaps we need to see if these new guys can cut a promo before we just throw them out on live TV in their debut. What'd you guys think of Mark Freer?
I was wondering, like, I looked over at Richard as we were watching this back, and I said, is he concussed? Like, he seems like he somebody had just donked him on top of the head with a fucking doink hammer or something, and he couldn't concentrate. Bert's like, hey, look at me. He's all looking to the side and shit. Like, he's probably trying to play to the crowd, but he's already got that shit going on for him. He doesn't need to act like he's distracted, because I legit, like, he's freer. He freed me from all anxiety. I wanted to lay back and get comfortable and go, take a nap or something. Like, he has no charisma whatsoever.
He has the personality of drying paint.
He looks great. I mean, like, if he's an action figure amongst the other bodies available of USWA,
Freezer Thompson,
he's Mark Freer's on up there. You know what I mean? But yeah, personality wise, I like Miss Simpson better.
Well, yeah,
for a couple of reasons, but I think you nailed it as far as, like, he doesn't give the RVD stoner vibe. He gives a head injury vibe. He's
Like
not
he was
high.
in
He
the-
just doesn't know. He might have just had a car accident and hit his head, or
He was in the truck with
he
Jerry and
he was the
fucking-
poor guy
and
Jerry and Eddie hit. They're like, we'll put you on TV if you don't sue us. You look like you in shape.
That's
I'll
how Jerry
make you
Jarrett mans
strong.
is subtle. Like, we will put you on TV next week, put you right into a feud.
That's how he knows Jeff and Jerry and
He's
all
got
them.
future
He's like,
court obligations.
I was with Jeff when they ruined my Sonata.
He gave me a pair of Billy Travis's trunks for some reason. So now from there, even though he seems like he is in no way, shape, or form in any condition to do so, Mark Freer is going to step up in the ring. He's going to take on the Master of Terra. Decent little TV match. Then, of course, true to form, Rex King and Steve Dahl hit the ring. Match ends in a DQ. We get some triple teaming going on here. Okay. I mean, what can we even say about that match? We haven't already said about 100 other matches in 1993, honestly. So,
who was this Master of Terror?
It was Ken Wayne.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because
I
he
thought
does
looked
that
a little smaller than
No,
usual.
he you know it's Ken Wayne when he does that fucking back elbow shit all the time.
Yeah, it was definitely Ken.
Okay.
He's so up and down the card right now. Like, he was middleweight champion 2 weeks ago. And I mean, I guess technically he's not a jobber here because the tag team champions ran in and then he, took part in the beatdown, but it is still, it amazes me. There's not many other people that they will just interject into an angle and then he falls back into TV, nothing matches. And then when they need him, they'll just interject him into an angle. He might even win a belt and then he just falls back into obscurity. It's kind of weird, but.
Do you think that, like, Ken just put up with that shit? And, because, like, whenever other people try to get that treatment put on them, they'll just fucking quit and leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you've heard that multiple times, even doing these reviews. It's like, hell, Doug's quit, I think, twice just because of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people that, no, you're not going to fuck with me like that. And I'd rather just quit and try to go start over somewhere else than you fuck me around here,
I guess Ken just likes staying around Memphis because by 93, he really wasn't going anywhere else. He was just wrestling when they would book him in Memphis. I guess he was probably doing little outlaw shows around the area, but the only other place really of any substance that he would show up would be doing jobs on WCW in that Galaxian outfit. Well, same outfit he's wearing as Master Terra. They just called him the Galaxian instead. And then Danny would go and do it with him.
He did it after Continental in 1990. I remember I was, I guess, fucking second grade or some shit, and my granny's like, Uncle Danny's gonna be on WCW, I bet. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. And all of a sudden the Galaxian comes out. She's like, that's him. I know it's him. I'm like, oh, how do you know? And she's like,
because he's losing the match.
No, I remember that. I don't know how long. I guess like he did that up until he went back to USWA, I guess, in like what, June of 90 or something like that. Maybe later in the year.
Maybe late 90, early 91,
August,
something like that.
Because he had a thing with Ken as soon as he got back almost.
Yeah, they would pop in and out doing those jobs for the next few years because I've found matches on into like 94 and 5 on like Saturday nights and worldwide. So just odd tapings. I guess probably when they were in the area, they would go out and do it. But not with the consistency they did at that time you're referring to. So next up, Brian Christopher comes out for a promo, and holy shit. As Richard alluded to, Miss Simpson already absent. I hope the principal gave her a demerit or whatever they used to call those when I was in school.
She's gonna get a tardy.
Yep. So she's not here, but boy, does Brian make up for it. I'm just going to let this speak for itself. But before I want to look for Dave to hit us with one of these. Look at Brian's face right there. Even he can't believe some of the shit he says in this promo. This is, even for 1993 standards, some of this is pretty wild. Check this out.
You two will be going against Jeff Jarrett and Miss Texas in a match.
You No, Dave, when I was sitting back there in the back, sitting in a chair, I was watching Jeff Jarrett and Miss Texas stand out here and try to conduct an interview. And I couldn't help it. I fell down and I started dying laughing, rolling to the floor because Jeff Jarrett's out there crying, "Oh, I had a car wreck. Oh, wear your seatbelt, everybody." And then, this is the caper right here. Then Miss Texas opens her big mouth. Did you hear her? "I'm Miss Texas, and Miss Simpson, when I get in there with you, tramp, I'm going to beat you like I own you, Well, Miss Texas, that right there is exactly why I want to ram my fist down your throat every single time you open your mouth, because you are nothing but a big piece of trash. You understand me? You're garbage. They ought to change your name, Miss Texas, to Mrs. Third and Vance, because that's where you can find her every Friday and every Saturday night, right there on the corner of Third and Vance. And I bet you Jeff Jarrett comes by there and picks her up every now and then. And then, Miss Texas, that's what I brought this out here for. You see this belt? Well, where Miss Simpson is from, Miss Texas, she does own people like you. You understand me? Oh, it's true, Dave Brown. It's true. And when she gets her hands on you, Miss Texas, Monday night, she's going to have this strap in her hand. And she's going to show you what they do to people like you where she comes from, Miss Texas. I can't wait, baby.
Celebrate now. You may not have the opportunity after that match. I would apologize for most of the stuff I think he's insulted every.
Wow. Brian Christopher going hard in the paint this week, son. Good grief.
What year?
I mean, it's not often that Dave has to make it an immediate apology. He didn't even have to go back and talk to anybody. It's just like, all right, I work for the station. I got to apologize. I can imagine, knowing all the things I've heard about Dave over the years, even though he's Lawler's son, Brian had to have got a pretty stern talking to from a number of people after that promo. Holy shit.
What year does Brian think it is, though, by the way?
I mean, no year Brian's been alive with a promo like that fly. I mean,
yeah. But I'm just saying, like, he referenced like slavery was still going on. It's like,
well, over there, I think over there he thinks it still is. Like, I don't think he's aware. You know?
They don't. To be fair, I'm a product of Tennessee public education. We don't get a lot of world history. It's mostly just U.S. history.
Well, to be clear, though, I mean, kayfabe-wise, yes, we're supposed to think that Nanny Simpson is from England, but Brian knows she's actually from Texas. And in '93, I don't know, maybe in Texas, maybe her family did own some people. I don't know, but anyway, I enjoyed her. I enjoyed his impression of Miss Texas. It was vaguely similar to ones we've heard on this program at some time or another. But moving on, we'll let that promo speak for itself. Our fourth match of the day is going to be the Southern champ, Brian Christopher, taking on Mr. USA number 2, even though, to my knowledge, we haven't seen Mr. USA number 1. Now, everything about this felt like one of those TV matches where we've stuck somebody else under a mask, and this isn't going to be some jobber named Mr. USA number 2. This is going to turn out to be Jeff Jarrett, who we think can't wrestle anymore, or this is going to turn out to be somebody. But it doesn't. It's just a jobber who takes a super kick before Miss Texas comes out and distracts him. Was I alone in this? Did you guys feel like this guy was going to turn out to be somebody, or did y'all just know, oh, no, this is just some jobber named Mr. USA?
I was debating if it was what was that little guy's name that they tricked us in '91 thinking Lord Humongous was coming back? Randy what?
Randy Lewis.
Randy Lewis. Yes, I legit thought that's he was back and he was in a tag team and that's what he was doing, because that he looked like he was cut up and hulked up. I mean, he had fucking Sid traps on him and shit. Like, he looked great. I figured they would try to do something with a guy. He must have been just really, really, really green or something, because if this is the 80s, Lawler's facing him Monday night.
But yeah, to answer your question, do you think somebody just didn't show up?
I don't know. I definitely could see thinking that was that Randy Lewis guy. Because, at one point they brought him back and called him like Spirit of America or something like that. I don't know why you ever thought that after you've established, you've had Jeff Van Camp, you've had Sid Vicious, why you would just suddenly have a 5'3" Lord Humongous, in a Halloween and like the same hockey style mask you could buy at Walmart for a Halloween haul was going to get over. I'll never know, but it kind of cut the guy's legs out from under him before they ever got started with him, and nothing ever worked.
God did that. He was really short.
Speaking of like Lord Humongous and people being from British, was Lord Humongous supposed to be a British gimmick? Like Lord Steven Regal?
He might could have pulled that off if they'd have played that angle with it. If he could have done a shitty British accent, which couldn't be any shittier than Tony Adams' British accent. At least it would have been fun.
He comes out in the Regal robe with a hockey mask.
No, this is post.
You got Sir William with him, and then the same height.
Yeah.
They have a different royalty structure after the nukes go off.
So it turns out this whole match is just a backdrop for Miss Texas to come out, and if you think he was hard on Miss Texas in this promo, check this out.
Well, I tell you what. Hey, hello. And number 2, Mr. USA just picks up Christopher, slams him down hard. That's who he is. Well, Mr. Christopher, never underestimate your opponent. I think there's a lesson there, don't you?
Ever. Looking at Mr. USA number 2, he's Christopher whips him into the ropes now. Mr. USA comes off, leaps over.
Baby Christopher, where's that sidekick at now? Christopher, where's that 2-bit tramp at?
Watch it.
What you say, little tramp, huh? How you running your mouth about me?
Come on, Brian. Hey. Watch it, Miss Texas. Oh, boy! Miss Texas! Lit off on Christopher. Hey, come on, Brian! Boy, that's horrible. Christopher out here strapping away on Miss Texas with that leather strap. Come on, Brian! Come on now! Here comes some help. Yeah, here comes Chef Jarrett. And that got rid of Christopher, thank goodness, when Jeff Jarrett finally arrived. And I tell you.
There's a saying that exists today that didn't exist in 1993 that fuck around and find out. And Miss Texas come at Brian and hit him across the chest with a belt. And she found out he beat the brakes off her. God almighty. That was,
even the throw to the ground was like super aggressive. Like she was just one of the.
I've got to pull out the old Southern saying here that my grandmother used to say: "Ain't nothing sorrier than when a man puts his hands on a woman, but when a woman puts her hands on a man, she has put herself in the place of a man and should be treated as such." And that's the way Brian thought about it too, apparently.
Damn right. We thought Sherry whooped that ass. That wasn't nothing compared to what Brian just did.
Do you think Brian knew the strap was coming? Because it would come out of nowhere. It's like she like hoodooed that thing out of there, like, wah!
I watched that clip a couple times as I was editing it and clipping it for the show. And if you look at the look on his face when she charges him, like, I don't think he was through saying whatever he's going to say, because when she charges him and pops him with that belt, you see it wash over his face like, bitch, I'm fixing to fuck you up. And son, he proceeded to do so. Like, this ain't New Kids, Brian Christopher here. Like, this is this is a dude that is freaking pissed. And like you said, the thing that really set it off for me, because like, all right, well, you can't really work, strapping somebody per se. I mean, you seen Jeff Gaylord trying to work those paddle shots across Mike Samples earlier, and they looked horrible. But the thing that really sold it for me that Brian was legit pissed is the way he flung her down to the ground, like Josh said. I mean, he knocked her ass to the floor with authority, and then proceeded to just was like crisscrossing back and forth, the shit out of her. Oh, that was something. Good Lord. But yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say another thing. Do you think the jobber was Mike Frere or whatever his name was? Freer.
I don't know, but the fact that the match opened with him body slamming Brian, the fact that they call him Mr. USA number 2, like, what was the point of being number 2? There was no number. Usually stuff like that's done to kind of throw you off balance and see, okay, this is going to be somebody. This ain't just some random jobber. Everything about that screamed, this is about to turn out to be something. And who knows, maybe next week, Mr. USA number 1 shows up and he's somebody. I don't know, but it was, or maybe it was just a very well executed, just, way to mislead everybody, because I'm sitting there waiting to see who this mascot turns out to be. Then suddenly here comes Miss Texas, and then she's getting the shit beat out of her.
Well, it would make sense that it would be Mark Freer, because like, he looked totally just off and just out of it with the mask off. And maybe he was used to being part of that tag team. And that's why he was,
But the same build, no wrist tape, the mask was a little bunched up at the top like there was hair in it.
It may have been.
Might have been.
But I mean, just a question of whether we were supposed to put that together or something's going to come of it, or it's just hey, Brian needs somebody to pretend to have a match against until Miss Texas can come out and lure him out of the ring, because so far we've only had 3 matches today. I don't know, but strange segment, but boy, Miss Texas, she found out you don't go strapping Brian Christopher across the chest with a belt, at least not if he's not ready for it. So
yeah.
All right, well, let's hear this is not going to be our typical card rundown that we see, but they're going to read off the poster board to us and let us know what these tournament matches look like for Monday night.
It's a 4-round tournament. The opening round, let's kind of take a look at the opening round here. Beginning with at the bottom, actually, we'll start with the legend Tony Falk going against Mark Freer. Mark, again, we'll meet a little bit later on. Brand new to the USWA. We hear mighty good things about him. He will be going against legend Tony Falk in the opening match. We'll follow that with Brian Christopher against Moondog Spot. The next one, Steve Dahl will be going against Wolfie D. You follow that with Rex King against Dutch Mantell. Now, that's sort of interesting. Look at the way that bracket is set up. If Rex King should defeat Dutch Mantell, and if Steve Dahl should defeat Wolfie D, that means that the tag team partners, the tag champions, would have to wrestle each other to advance in the tournament. So that's what I meant a little bit earlier about some interesting pairings that can come up in a tournament such as this. On up about the middle there, you see J.C. Ice will be going against Master of Terror in a match. Danny Davis will be going against Johnny Polo. Jeff Gaylord takes on Scott Braddock. And then the King, Jerry Lawler, we've already talked about this a little bit. He is going to be going against Principal C.W. Bergstrom in the opening match. And as we pointed out, the King is mighty upset with Bergstrom and Samples coming out here claiming to have checked his transcript, talking about all that stuff. And well, you can tell from what they were saying about it that their version of it is certainly not the truth. But anyway, I think they've got the King a bit upset at C.W. Bergstrom. They maybe should have left well enough alone until this match was over, but now they couldn't do that, and as a result, the King will be looking for C.W. Bergstrom in that opening match as he tries to advance. Now, point of the tournament, well, you see it right there on the left of the screen. Papa Shango, who defeated the King for the unified belt, and then, as Jerry pointed out, used the disqualification route to retain the belt in the rematch. He has the belt, and the winner of the tournament gets the shot at Papa Shango. Bert Prentice, who is now handling.
All right, so there we see the brackets of the people competing for a shot at Papa Shango. I forgot to mention this earlier, but it kind of played towards Josh's point. Bert comes out to talk to Mark Freer, and he says, "I represent the unified world title." He didn't say he represents the champion. He didn't say he represents Papa Shango. He represents the title. And then you've got the 2 tag team champions that Bert represents in this tournament. So are we supposed to believe that if Dahl or King make it through this thing and win it, will they just forfeit their match with Papa Shango? Will they lay down like Kevin Nash and the finger poke of doom? Why would they be competing against Papa Shango in this tournament? Or are they just running interference?
Right. I mean, they just seem like henchmen at this point.
Yeah, I think they would do the old heel. We're gonna forfeit this, and Papa, you're still the man.
Love it when you call me Big Pop.
We could use that as an excuse for Papa Shango not being there. They just have Dahl or King come out of the ring and like, well, Papa Shango didn't come because he knew they were going to turn down the match. So still the champion, Bert Prentice, basically. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of weird. Let's take our last podcast commercial break, and then you guys know what time it is from there.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jarrett, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
All right, guys, it's that time once again. We got to ask you the questions and see how you feel about today's episode. So question number 1, what was your least favorite part of today's episode?
I hate C.W. Bergstrom. I don't know why I had to sing it, because that's way more enthusiasm than he gives. But yeah, I'm so ready for that to be like, why can't we just have a full Memphis show with one gimmick that I don't hate? That's what all I'm asking. And I thought we were there. I thought we were there when the Harlem Knights left, and the Moondogs left, and Mike throwing chairs. What was his last name again?
Miller.
Mike Miller's gone. So I've got all these people now. That's like, oh, we got Jeff Jarrett. We've got Danny's back. We've got PG-13. It's looking up. And then they introduced C.W. Bergstrom, and I'm like, oh gosh. And I fully expect him. He's got the most boring, as the kids say, moveset. I fully expect him to win this match with a drop toe hold. Like, I'm just over him. I don't want to watch him. I just want to turn the TV off when he's on. And he is my least favorite part of this week's show.
So with me, I guess my least favorite part, besides, I guess, C.W. Bergstrom's promo skills, which is non-existent. And you could see that with Mike Samples, his frustration. He would just and then he'd have to go over through all the talking points that C.W. Bergstrom missed whenever he was talking about art class and stuff. But my biggest gripe about this whole show would be Mark Freer. Zero charisma. He was just flat as the goddamn desert, just nothing. And it's like he is the Marinos in one person. You know what I mean? No, just great skills. He looked great, but he has so many drawbacks because of that concussed state that he's always in. And I think if you're going to have a guy like that, he needs to have a manager. He needs a Bert Prentice, and whatever the good guy form of Bert would be at this point. I don't know if we have one, but Richard Lee would be the closest thing at this point. I don't know, man, but he doesn't need to be out there trying to get himself over because he's absolute just horrible.
He needs a handler in wrestling and in life.
He definitely didn't drive to the studio, but
he's going to be getting one sooner than you think.
Like you said, Gene, do they not see if these sumbitches can do a promo before they come out here? And if they knew that he was going to be like that, then why didn't they try something different?
You reckon Jeff Gaylord was in the back like, let me give you some tips, man. That was pretty horrible.
No, I think he was like, let me give you some of these Xanax, man. You'll be real good when you go out there.
When Jarrett hires these people, he needs to do the old retail thing. Sell me this pen. And if they can't cut a promo about that pen, then maybe we don't put them out on TV in a promo their first week. When I was thinking about this, when I was putting the notes together for this show, and I thought, what's my least favorite part of this show? It's hilarious because I was like, well, I don't know. It would either be Bergstrom or it would be Mark Freer. So the fact that you guys collectively touched on both of those, number one's perfect. Number two, it shows we're all kind of on the same wavelength here. So that's fun. So number two, what is your most favorite part of today's episode?
Touching on both of those, for all the wrong reasons, it's the Jerry Lawler Jennifer segment. Because in my mind, I created this whole scenario watching this thing about what was going on beforehand and how they just showed up with a camera crew and Jerry had to scramble. And then we got to watch him shoot his shot with Art and Money, and he didn't even bring up the movie, which I figured that would have been a go-to for me. I'm in a movie. You can bring 10 of your friends. We can rig this thing.
You bring 10 of your friends.
He's doing the Puff Daddy. Well, not the freak off Puff Daddy, but you bring your friends. I'll bring my friends. And by friends, I mean me. No, for all the wrong reasons, because it's not wrestling related, I really enjoyed that Jennifer on the Road segment with Lawler this week.
Josh?
So I haven't yet been able to enjoy a well done match yet, because of the tights.
Just
but
medium rare.
I honestly, I thought it was a little weird that the match was on first. Like I said before, this should have been the main event. And, if they played their cards right, this could have closed out the show and just really, really put over this whole thing. But, yeah, PG-13 versus, I called them Well Done. What the fuck is their name? Simply Divine. Yes. Like, it was a great match. Back and forth. It looked like it was, going somewhere. Like they're going to have something after this. They're actually going to be going after somebody, because it makes sense. I mean, PG-13, it seems like they are next in line for the next great tag team. Like I don't feel it. It doesn't feel like Simply Divine's going to be here that long. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel that way because usually bad guys come and go, but if they got their baby tag team, they try to keep them around if they're worth something. And PG-13, you can see they're developing and they're actually learning how to work, and the back and forth and really working the crowd. And they were so behind Jamie. I mean, and I know Wolfie was being the cheerleader out there, but if they're not into it, they're not going to latch on to those cheers. You know what I mean? How many times have you seen the wrestler, in the tag team, like doing the clap, trying to get them in it, and they're sitting on their hands. They're not in it, but man, go Ice, go Ice. Go. I mean, there was so many cheers. It was so full of energy, man. It was a great match, great finish, and it didn't make PG-13 look like shit.
So a couple of things about that. Number one, when I heard that King and Doll were coming in, I was kind of excited about it. I'm like, oh, this should be some good stuff. And now as I watch some of their matches, I think, man, I miss the Harlem Nights. At least they were entertaining in some form. But But I don't understand. I've been banging my head against the wall trying to figure this out for a couple of weeks now, and I wish I could get some insight from somebody. But we had this phantom face turn of PG-13 that just came out of nowhere with no explanation. But it worked. The crowd's behind them, like you said. They were thoroughly behind him in that match. Wolfie's got the wherewithal to lead the. I mean, yes, he was leading the chant, but I mean, the fact that he knew enough to get him to lead the chant was a good sign. But we haven't heard from him. We had a fucking Mark Freer promo that went nowhere, served no purpose. We had Jerry Lawler out here for a grand total of 14 minutes probably. And we have not heard from PG-13 one time since they've been turned babyface mysteriously in the middle of the night. I just feel like if we could let them go out there and cut a promo and double down on, we ain't going to give an explanation. We're past that now. But just to really drive it home and have a chance to, connect with the fans with a babyface promo, unlike those heel promos they were doing, it would serve more of a purpose than having Mark Freer out there saying a bunch of nothing, looking like he doesn't know where he is, or having Jarrett and Miss Texas come out and do a promo, and then have Miss Texas come out and do another promo that gets the shit beat out of her. Like, could we not have cut one of those segments and let PG-13 have a segment out here? I don't get it. Like, maybe it's just me, but I feel like they're getting over in spite of their push, not because of their push.
Do we think maybe that PG-13 had to be somewhere because they don't show up at all anymore in this show? And maybe they had a prior commitment, or maybe the USWA was doing something that they had to be at. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of as to why they were in the first segment and you never see them again.
Could be. I don't know, but I mean, this is 2 or 3 weeks in a row that they haven't done anything better with them than that. So that would explain today, but they don't explain last week. They don't explain some of the other times. And, and I think part of it is they were looked at when they brought them in. They were supposed to be just a low card comedy tag team. It was never really intended for them to get over. They never thought they would draw. The only reason they got the main event push they got is because Randy Hales came in, liked them, and just started pushing them. And, even he says, and Wolfie says, and different people have said over the years that, Randy got pulled aside and like, are you sure you want to push these guys? I don't think they're big enough. I don't think people are going to buy it, as they were already proving they could get over. So this may just be a case of like they weren't getting promo time and they weren't doing anything to push them as baby faces because they didn't have any faith in that, or that just wasn't really the plan. But holy cow, we need a baby face. We need those guys to get over desperately.
Now, here's another question, because this is speaking from somebody with somewhat small, limited experience. It's like when you're in a tag team, and so like I was in a tag team for a while, and we were on TV and everything, and then for whatever reason my tag team partner couldn't be there, so I would show up to TV and just wouldn't get booked because, well, I'm a tag team without a tag team partner. The same thing could be said, well, maybe they looked at PG-13 like that because, hey, they knew who they were and where they came from, and they weren't somebody they created. They looked at Jamie like, that's Bill's kid, and he just, maybe they had preconceived notions about these guys, and it took a lot of work even after they were proving it. It's like they got that stigma of just, that's who they are. Like, they're the tag team wrestler without the tag team, partner. Yeah. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, because like I said, you could tell from the first time they were out there that these guys were money.
And the crowd loved them from the get-go. They could have been baby faces right out of the gate, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch this progress and see when they kind of pulled the trigger with PG-13 and let them start doing more than what they're doing now. So the last question, of course, as always, is would this TV show have inspired you to buy a ticket to Monday night's card to see how this tournament played out back in 1993?
So I'm a big fan of variety in wrestling. Like, I don't want to see 20 luchador matches. I don't want to see 20, big man matches. I want to see variety. I'd like to see a mix of everything. I've never been a tournament fan as a kid. And even now, I hated the King of the Ring tournament. I thought it was, a good idea in theory, but you're still getting some of the same people wrestling multiple times. And for that, like the Shark Tank, I'm out. Because I just do not want to go see the same people wrestling over and over. And how many DQs are we probably going to get? Plus, I'm not 100% sold that every one of those people on that card are going to be there. Like, I don't think Jerry should have wrote that in Sharpie. He should have wrote it in it should have made it he should have laminated the whole damn thing and wrote it in dry erase, marker or whatever. So yeah, no, I'm probably going to take a pass on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to echo that. I'm not I like the idea of a tournament, but only when it's broke down and say Monday night we'll have these 4 matches. Next Monday night we'll have these matches, and then the next Monday night we'll have the finals. I'm all for that. But whenever they said that for the sake of time, they're gonna have every wrestler that is still in the tournament, and from the start, they're all going to be sitting around ringside to get it and keep it flowing. As soon as I heard that, like I said, I'm not really one for a whole tournament in one deal. I knew it was going to be horrible. And I knew, like Richard said, you were going to see because they specifically say if anybody interferes, even though they're sitting out there by ringside or around the ring, they will be disqualified in whatever their upcoming match is. I knew when they specified that there is going to be some fuckery.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not spending my money this Monday night.
I can't say I blame you. Yeah, I would echo those sentiments. I'm not a big fan of tournaments myself, so totally makes sense. So let's head down to the Coliseum Monday night, May 31st, 1993. Now, something we really didn't touch on here, we did kind of acknowledge it in the C.W. Bergstrom promo, was the fact they were offering $1 tickets to children for this event. And like I said, Bergstrom, made his joke about it. Well, they pulled something out, and it paid off for them. This tournament card that I didn't think anybody would want to go to drew 1,500 people, which means this tournament card outdrew the last time Savage came to town.
They had dollar tickets, brother. Come on.
Now, money-wise at the box office, you're probably talking this is the same amount of money they made when they drew 600 people, but it still looks better. And if you get those 1,500 people in, regardless of what they paid, you're more likely to get them back unless you put on this card. Now, opening match. Mark Freer defeats Tony Falk. The second match, Brian Christopher defeated Moondog Spot via disqualification. And that's the guy I did not think would show up. I did not expect Moondog Spot to actually be there when I saw him on that poster. Match number 3, Steve Dahl defeated Wolfie D. Match 4, Dirty Dutch Mantell defeated Rex King. Number 5, JC Ice, Jamie Dundee defeated the Master of Terra. Number 6, Nightmare Danny Davis defeated Johnny Polo via forfeit. Johnny Polo wasn't there. Number 7, the Rock and Roll Phantom subbing for Scott Braddock, who was just randomly on that tournament when we ain't seen Scott Braddock since the Texas USWA days. Rock and Roll Phantom defeated Jeff Gaylord. Jerry the King Lawler defeated Principal C.W. Bergstrom. In the 9th match, Mark Freer defeated Brian Christopher via forfeit. I don't know.
He was hung up. He was tied up like a dog with Miss Simpson.
I'm interested next week to find out what led to Brian forfeiting a match against Mark Freer. Match number 10, Steve Dahl defeated Dirty Dutch Mantell. Number 11, Nightmare Danny Davis beat JC Ice, this time in a babyface match between the two due to tournament circumstances.
Take that, Memo.
That's right. Number 12, Jerry the King Lawler beat the Rock and Roll Phantom. Steve Dahl defeated Mark Freer. And listen to this. In the other, so 2 semifinal matches. First semifinal match, Steve Dahl beats Mark Freer. Second semifinal match, Jerry Lawler pins Nightmare Danny Davis.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting match in 1993 with the 2 baby faces. I'd like to see
Right.
highlights of that. And in the finals, Jerry Lawler beats Steve Dahl via disqualification to become the #1 contender for the USWA Unified title. You go through this whole friggin' tournament, had 1 DQ in the Moondog match, and how Moondog got disqualified because we've already established Moondogs can just do whatever the hell they want to, but he got disqualified. And then you come down to the finals, Lawler against a tag team guy, and he wins by DQ. I just don't understand. Now, this card, like I said, they did the $1 children's tickets. They drew 1,500 people. 1 week later, they take this card to Nashville, 200 people. They did change it up a little bit. They had a lot less people in their tournament. Steve Dahl beat Jeff Gaylord. Mark Freer beat Brian Christopher by disqualification. Rex King beat Dutch Mantell. Jerry Lawler beat C.W. Bergstrom. The Untouchables beat PG-13. Not sure who they are as of yet. I guess we'll be finding out very soon. Steve Dahl beat Mark Freer. Jerry Lawler beat Rex King. And in the finals, Jerry Lawler beat Steve Dahl to win the tournament. And in a added bonus match on this card, Miss Texas and Jeff Jarrett beat Nanny Simpson and Brian Christopher by disqualification. 200 people. Yikes.
Yeah.
Then they had a bonus match.
Yes. Miss Simpson was there this time. So I told you, folks, if you stick around, if you're watching the video cast, this isn't really going to play if you're listening. So if you're listening, you can kind of skip over this. Or better yet, go watch the video cast. It's on YouTube on the WrestleCopia channel. You can see the link to it in the description of this video or on the Facebook post on the Facebook page. But our new, I don't know if we're going to do this every week, but from time to time, we're going to take a look at what's bumming Dave out. Something has got Dave Brown just absolutely bummed out here. And if we back up to just a moment before this picture was taken, we find out it was this. Taking a picture with Nightmare Uncle Danny right after being put in the Hall of Fame. As you can see, Josh's description of me looking like I'm looking through the ship window is absolutely perfect. You can see the top of Richard's head. You're missing half his arm, but you do get the top of his head, which is a bonus. So, and Dave's not happy about it. So there's that. So each week we'll try to take a look at a picture. And, we'll see.
Because it's a subliminal message.
Let's bumming Dave out next time here on the Retro Wrestling Review Podcast.
Those chats we have are very fun, huh?
Hey, if you caught a flash on the screen, you're trying to figure out what it was, subscribe to our Patreon. And you'll find out more on Patreon, on the patreon.com/retro wrestling archive. We have our Hot Mics show where we record the pre-show and post-show of the Retro Wrestling Review. And so if you think some of the things we said on this show, whatever ends up making it in that I don't potentially cut out of today's show, if you think there's some things we say on this show that make you go, holy shit, did they say that? Well, you ought to hear the stuff that gets said before and after the show. And we put it all there on Patreon. We don't cut any of that out for better or worse. We just ask that, hey, don't go sharing it. It's a secret society. So join the Patreon. Check some of that out. We've got some more. If you enjoyed the watch along, I've got some other watch along stuff. We're adding new stuff all the time. Got a new watch along where me and my buddy Steve Pleasing went back and watched some old KAW wrestling from '99. He had never even heard of KAW. He's an Alabama guy. He's not real familiar with Memphis. So we watched some KAW matches and had a good time. And there's just a lot of fun stuff on the Patreon. So make sure y'all check it out. And before we go, is there any updates from P3 Radio that we'd like to give?
We had a fun show this weekend. We recorded and we just kind of let it go. We covered a bunch of things. we don't get political, but we did cover the independent third party election. What was it? What's that thing? Debate. And it was only really because of the national anthem. We'll just leave it right there. We didn't really.
And I had heard nothing about this shit at all.
So if
you just need to tune in.
Yeah, tune in, check it out. We cover it pretty well. We don't get political, so don't get your butthole all puckered up. If you're out there going, "I don't want to listen to politics," we don't listen to politics either. But we did cover this one because of the national anthem.
There you go. Make sure you check that out. And again, if you missed it live, you still can go back and watch our face stream live. Watch along on Facebook.com/Retro Wrestling Review. And if you're not following the page, why not? We put a lot of cool USWA content on there, old matches and pictures and magazine articles and all that stuff. It ain't just.
Do you know what? I'm sorry to cut you off, Gene, but do you know what I love the most about that? It's the pictures that you share, but then you get people asking questions and commenting and stuff, and there's all kinds of little bits of knowledge within those photos that people share and the back and forth and stuff. Man, that's just like, it's like sitting under the learning tree. You know what I mean?
That's true. It does spark up some very interesting conversation, and some of the comments show you that kayfabe's still alive. There's some people that's still real to them, damn it. And they say some things in the picture comments that I don't even really know how to respond to. Even more so on the Doug Gilbert podcast page. There's some things that I just delete because I'm just like, I don't know how to respond to that, and Doug's probably not gonna like it, so we're just gonna get that out of here. USWA page, I'll leave it though. Anything goes. So.
Can we say this too? I don't know if this is in the commercials, but like, if they're not looking at the shop for the shirts, man, the shirts are killing it over there, right? They look awesome.
We've got some fun stuff over there. You can go to tinyurl.com/USWA podcast. We've got the podcast logo t-shirt. We've got a Master of Terra t-shirt that's really fun. Last night, I got a report on my phone. We sold a Mean Mike Miller t-shirt that's still hanging out there on the site. There's Moondog stuff. And so any of these designs, you can get as a t-shirt, you can get it as a hat, you can get it as a sticker, a coffee mug, whatever you want it on. You can probably get it there at that store. So we've got some fun designs, and we're still working on coming up with some new stuff. So if you have any ideas, if you hear us say something goofy on the podcast, go, "Oh, I wish I had that on a shirt." Well, let us know. We can probably make that happen. There's a lot of times that I'll just spout off like ridiculous ideas that I'm not even always 100% serious about in our group chat or text. And like 20 minutes later, Richard posts a design in there. I'm like, "Oh shit, that's actually kind of cool. We'll throw that up on it. We'll make that a t-shirt and we'll throw it up on the site." So yeah, if you have any ideas of something you'd like to see, let us know. We'll get it up there. They talked about their Hugs Not Drugs campaign last week on the show, and all of a sudden this pops up in our group text. And we decided we were probably going to alter it a little bit, and so then this pops up. We still ain't really figured out. We really ain't figured out how we're going to promote that yet, but eventually we're going to do something with it, I'm sure.
Choose which side you're on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There you
we'll
go.
just have both. You buy whichever shirt you want.
I'm going to say the hugs with drugs can lead to inappropriate things, especially if you're assuming the two are coming over to your house without a camera crew.
Polynesian Jerry was going to answer that door.
Well, all right, folks. It was a fun one this week. Join us again next week for more randomness here on the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. Thanks. Hey, folks, before we get out of here, I'd just like to take a moment to tell you we appreciate you checking out the podcast. And if you would, do us a favor, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you're listening to this right now, wherever you're watching it. If you'll just take a moment to either subscribe, to rate, and review, let us know what you think. We hope you're liking it. But even if you're not, let us know what you would like to see changed, and we will take that in consideration as we move forward. So we really appreciate any feedback we can get. Also, we just want to say how proud we are to be a part of the WrestleCopia brand of wrestling podcast. Ray Russell brings you something for everyone over at WrestleCopia.com. Check out all the great wrestling podcasts available over there right now. And for all things related to the Retro Wrestling Review Podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com and you can find links to everything we have there, our Facebook, our Twitter/X, our TikTok, our Instagram, our merch store. That's right. We've got shirts, we've got hats, we've got phone cases, we've got all kinds of great stuff. And it's all right there at our store. And you can find a link to it at USWApodcast.com. There's a link to the YouTube channel we're associated with, the Retro Wrestling Archive. You can find all that there. And if you have questions for us, if you saw something on the show that you have a question about or a comment about, if you've got some info to answer a question we have, or you got a question you want us to read on the air, if you want to work out an ad swap, if you want to have any kind of communication with us, you can go and send an email to USWApodcast@outlook.com, and I will get back to you just as quickly as humanly possible. And if you're a fan of Dangerous Conversations with Doug Gilbert, and if you've heard it, I know you are, check out DougGilbertPodcast.com for all things related to Doug's podcast. You can find links to our Facebook page for the show, our Twitter. You can find links to Doug's social media, his Twitter, his Facebook. All that's available there, plus a link to the YouTube channel. And if you have a question for Doug you would like for me to ask him on the air, you can send that question to DougGilbertPodcast@outlook.com, and we will get it added, and it will get answered in a future episode just as quickly as we can work it in. So we appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you here next week for more.
Hi, this is Mike Needham, host of the Reckless Abandon Podcast with Mike Needham. We invite you to jump on your favorite podcast platform and search for the Reckless Abandon Podcast and give us a listen. I'm sometimes joined by a part-time podcaster, part-time co-host, and full-time wife, Tiffany Nicole. And when you get the wife on the air, sometimes that can lead to some very interesting conversation. We talk wrestling, we talk pop culture, we talk local events in West Tennessee, local happenings in West Tennessee, and a ton of other stuff. I would like to tell you that this is a show about nothing, but Seinfeld already has that copyrighted, so I cannot tell you that our podcast is a show about nothing. But be sure to check out the Reckless Abandon Podcast. Find us on Facebook. Also, look up the Microgroup Podcasting family on Facebook and see some of our other podcasts we have out there. Until next time, make good choices, and always remember, no dollar, no dice.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/RasslePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.